Welcome to the city. I'm Anthony Wilson, the Public Information Officer for the City of San Angelo. And joining us today is our interim city engineer, Tim Wolf. Tim, thanks for being with us.
Sir, thank you.
City engineer, what exactly does the city engineer do?
The city engineer is responsible for the entire engineering services division of the city. It's in the planning and economic development department. What we do is we do surveying, design, inspection for capital projects and large maintenance projects, such as street reconstruction projects, stormwater projects, alley projects, sidewalks, things like that. I also do floodplain management, anything to do with FEMA's regulated floodway, floodplain, 100-year floodplain. We take a look at where those sites are, whether it's residential homeowner or commercial site. If they're in the floodplain, then there's certain requirements they have to meet to be there and to build there. With development, we have site plans and plats that we also review, make sure that they're in accordance with our city ordinance regarding street design, stormwater facilities, alley design, sidewalks, things like that. But we review all the plans that come in, and then we do our own plans too sometimes for the capital projects. Like I said, we have the streetscape project going on now on Chadburn Street. That was designed in-house. It's now in construction, and we're inspecting that too.
One of the first things that you mentioned was street maintenance and street improvement and street reconstruction. And as we're talking now, the city is engaged in a $1.7 million effort to seal coat a lot of streets throughout the community. And that's about 3 times more than what was spent in last year's budget on seal coating. Explain what seal coating is and what it does.
You're right. Fortunately, we're able to do a lot more this year. Seal coating, it involves basically spraying a layer of asphalt down on top of the roadway surface, and then putting a layer of rock on top of that. It's then rolled in with the trucks, and it's ready to go right after that. But what it does is it provides a layer of protection to keep the water out of the base of the street, and it's just a preventative maintenance to keep the streets up and running, give them a few more years of life.
And that's important because once water seeps down to the base, that's when streets begin to crumble and fail, correct?
Right. Just like if you're building your house, what you want is a good foundation. You can't do anything above that. So in a street, the most important part of it is the base, the foundation of the street. Once water gets in there, it can start to erode and deteriorate the base of the street. So then you have to go in and fully reconstruct the street. So a maintenance project like this keeps that from happening.
You know, the seal coating is actually going on, some of it in my neighborhood, and I've already heard people complain that it's a little bit of a rougher and a little bit of a louder ride than what they're accustomed to. But it's just a relatively short matter of time before the traffic sort of smooths out that surface, correct?
Right. Within a year, it's pretty smooth. Sometimes 6 months, it's still pretty smooth. Right after it's laid, it's still got some of the little bit sharper edges of the rock sticking up because they haven't laid down perfectly flat yet. It's nothing that's going to hurt your tires, but they flatten out pretty quickly.
Now, how were the streets that are involved in the seal coating program this year, how were those selected?
Right now, we just have a subjective approach to that. We take input from people that call in, from local area residents. We take direction from council, from city management, and just from other departments, and then do our own review of what streets we feel are needed for that. Streets that are in the process of beginning to see some failure, but not full failure, because then they require a different type of maintenance schedule.
So how often is it optimally should a street be seal coated?
We would like to do it between 5 and 7 years, just to keep them up and performing well. Like I said, once they get past that point, then you have to do other methods to bring the street back up. But if you can do that within 5 to 7 years, and it really depends on how much traffic is on there, depends on what type of traffic is on there, and where that street's located. If it has a lot of drainage that flows down it, then you have a lot more potential for water impacts on the base. If there's heavy trucks that travel on it a lot more often, that can deteriorate the road faster. It kind of depends on that, but typical streets, 5 to 7 years.
One of the other methods that we use to improve streets is going to begin soon as well. It's a $1.3 million to mill and overlay 4 streets within our city. And those streets are Main Street and Oak Street, 14th and 19th Streets. Talk a little bit about what mill and overlay is and what that does.
Mill and overlay is kind of the next step, if you will, past seal coating. It not only provides a preventative measure to protect the base of the street, but it also smooths out the top of the street and allows much better riding surface. What we do is the mill part is actually come through and take off or mill the top couple of inches of asphalt off of the street and then lay it back in with regular hot mix asphalt. So the top surface of the street looks like a brand new street. It doesn't get down into the base of the street, but it takes off the top layer and replaces it, and so you have a much smoother surface and a new surface to help protect it too.
That smoother surface, is that immediate, or does that take some time for the traffic to smooth that out as well?
That is immediate. It's just like a brand new street. I think TxDOT redid 87 going through town, Bryant Boulevard. You saw how smooth that was right when they got through. It's basically brand new smooth. It's rolled and it's smooth.
I mentioned the 4 streets that are involved with the mill and overlay, and it's $1.3 million. How are those streets selected?
Basically, they're selected the same way the seal coating was. It's just which streets are in need of a little bit more maintenance, and streets that have a lot of dips and crests in it that make your ride surface really bumpy. Those streets, especially ones that we get complaints on that are high traffic streets, we try to maintain those.
Now, I know that one of the goals of engineering services is to apply some sort of objective measure to our streets so that they can be put on a program of regular maintenance. And I know the city manager would like that to be every street addressed once every 7 years. How are you going to go about applying that objective measure to our city streets? What does that involve?
That's great that we're trying to do that. I highly advise that. What it is it's an objective way to basically analyze the streets and see what condition they're in. It's a pavement evaluation system. There's a company that can come in and actually inspect the streets all through town. We would do the entire city first and find out what streets are in need of repair and what type of repair they're in need of. They would be then given a value in the index, and so we could rank the streets, see what we need to do with them, bring them back up to what we feel is a sufficient street, but it would be based off of objective scientific data, basically.
Anytime we talk about street maintenance or street improvements, the question inevitably arises, when is the city going to do something about Bell Street, which there's no doubt that street does desperately need some attention. But talk a little bit about what that would involve and what the cost of it would be.
Bell Street project is projected to be about $10 million right now. It is in our list of projects that we would like to do. Our budget right now is not that high. We're trying to increase awareness of streets and their need for rehabilitation. Bell Street would require a full reconstruction of the street. The base has failed, and you can kind of tell that as you ride down the street. It's not just the ride surface; the actual base has failed underneath that too, and it would require full reconstruction, which means taking off all of the asphalt, eating it up, removing the base, possibly reprocessing the subgrade, which is just the existing ground underneath the base, fixing that out, smoothing it, regrading it, laying some new base in there, and then putting asphalt on top of that. And
you mentioned a $10 million cost, and of course we're spending $1.7 million just on seal coating alone this year. And that $10 million cost is more than 5 times what the city's entire capital budget is. But it's not even the most expensive city street project that is sort of on our radar screen.
That's right. The most expensive one that's listed right now is a reconstruction of Southwest Boulevard from Sunset out to the railroad tracks, and that's over $14 million projected. So yeah, that would go across where the McDonald's is, and that Red Arroyo where it crosses there, and all the way out to the railroad tracks.
So do you anticipate then that this objective measure and hopefully this 7-year cycle, is that something that we're going to see in the foreseeable future?
I definitely hope so. It all depends on what the priorities council chooses for us. That would be optimum solution. I would love for that to happen. We need money for it.
We've only got a few minutes left, but I want you to talk about one of the other big projects that you're involved in, and that is the Avenue P street drainage project. Talk a little bit about how that came to pass, what it is, and what you expect the project to achieve.
The Avenue P street and drainage project, it fixes a problem that has gone on for decades. In the area of Avenue P between Bryant Boulevard and Chadburn Street, people in that whole neighborhood have been experiencing flooding for, like I said, for decades. And we've had meetings out there, talked with the local residents for them to explain what their problem is for us. We've seen multiple claims on flooding insurance on houses out there. This project would actually take all of the water that flows along Avenue P, take it underground from Bryant Boulevard, and dump it out on the other side of Chadburn Street into the Red Arroyo. Right now, it flows down the street and then turns about halfway down into an alley and flows in the back alley behind all those houses. It then turns south once it gets to Chadburn Street. Right now, we would kind of be shortcutting some of it, taking it underground and punching it on the other side of Chadburn. That should catch at least a 5-year storm. Anything else should be contained within the street or within the right-of-way out there. So it'll be a drastic impact in that area.
So the project, has it begun yet? What's the cost involved, and when do you anticipate completion?
Right now, we're still waiting on the acquisition of an easement on the other side of Chadburn Street on the east side. As soon as we have that, council's already approved for us to move forward. We could then, Reese Albert has been the contractor selected for the project. They can begin construction as soon as we get that easement.
We've been talking with Tim Wolf. He is our interim city engineer. We will be back in a moment with Angelica Pena, our civic events manager. But first, we're going to spotlight another outstanding city employee, Health Inspector Kevin Little.
My name is Kevin Little. I'm a health inspector. I work for the health department for the city of San Angelo, and I've worked for the city for about 4.5 years. My primary job function is restaurant inspection. We, as health inspectors, we go around to all the restaurants in the city that have food service permits, and we try to ensure that the food being prepared and presented to the public is as safe as it can be. There's a whole series of rules and regulations controlling what a restaurant can and cannot do, how they prepare food, how they hold food, and we try to ensure, we do our best to make sure they follow the law as closely as they can. There's really no such thing as 100% food safety, but we keep pushing towards that goal. We have around 500 food service permits in the city. There's probably about 350 restaurants. A lot of churches have permits and other facilities, such as the convention center. So with 2 health inspectors, that keeps us quite busy throughout the year. Each permit holder, food service permit holder, is inspected basically upon the risk category. If they're serving a great number of people, or they're working with raw fish, raw chicken, raw beef, they're probably going to be inspected 4 times a year at least. Other establishments like Snow Cone Stand might just be twice a year. As a health inspector, we wear quite a few different hats. We do daycare inspections for the state of Texas. We also inspect foster homes, and then we also go on a wide range of complaints, mainly to hotels and apartment complexes. Bed bugs are becoming a larger issue, unfortunately, in San Angelo. We go to swimming pool complaints, anything that could be construed as a public health risk, we go out and investigate. Taught in public school, as a public school teacher, taught science. And so my degree and my experiences have really led up to this point where there's an easy fit for me to become a health inspector. When I first enter a restaurant, the number one thing I look for is the immediate area where they're doing the majority of food prep. I look to see that the raw ingredients are being handled properly, the proper temperatures, things are being cooked properly, that the big one is cross-contamination, that wherever the raw meats were sitting or where the raw meats were prepared, it's not contacting where the cooked meats are. And then from there, I just branch out. I start there at the core where the cooks are cooking, and then I just kind of go out in a circle around the restaurant looking for all the other issues. Make sure the refrigeration is the proper temperature, any of the steam tables are working properly, and all the other issues regarding the sanitary equipment, the dishwashers, and all the other equipment that's required. And there's a huge difference between clean and safe. I've seen some restaurants, kitchens that were extremely clean, but individuals were doing things that were quite dangerous. And then there's as you would imagine, quite a few dirty kitchens. However, the cooks and all the food prep people are handling the foods in such a manner that there's no safety issue. So when it comes to floors, anywhere that's really away from where the food will come in contact, that's less of an importance to us. The most interesting part of the job are just the different places in town I get to go to. I can now say that I've literally been in every kitchen in the city of San Angelo, every restaurant. So just the fluidity of the job and the fact that when I show up each morning, I literally have no idea where I'm going to go that day or what's going to happen that day. I am proud to be a health inspector. I know it's kind of an unsung hero kind of thing. It's enjoyable to be a part of public safety in a very quiet, very small manner that most people don't even think about. But I'm proud to do what I do to keep the people as safe as we can. A good day at work is going out to a restaurant or some facility and seeing something that someone is doing that's not quite safe and they don't realize it, and just informing them what they're doing and why it's wrong and how they could do it better, and having them respond in a manner that they appreciate what I've done. It does happen quite a bit, thankfully. Sometimes it's just a very minor, very small thing that they're not doing proper, but they're grateful to see what they're doing incorrectly and how to improve it.
Welcome back. We're being joined by Angelica Pena. She is the Civic Events Manager. Angelica, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Now, you're one of the big wigs involved in planning and organizing RiverFest, the first RiverFest. So tell us what RiverFest is and why we're having it.
Well, I actually like to credit Carl White. This is kind of his brainchild. He thought of this early this year. Pretty much the festival is to celebrate the 100-year anniversary of Santa Fe Park, as well as to highlight many of the improvements that have taken place along the river.
Now, a lot of people who grew up in San Angelo, such as yourself, are very familiar with the old Fiesta del Concho that used to be held down along the river. Is this in any way an effort to try to replace Fiesta del Concho?
No, not really. Fiesta del Concho did have a lot of vendors and things that you would buy, arts and crafts types of things. And we're really trying to promote this event and be more of a activity-based fest as opposed to, vendors. We'll have, of course, food vendors and lots of things that people enjoy at the event itself. But as far as trying to replace that, that was never the intent. We would like to have as many people that show up as Fiesta del Concho. We would love to have a great turnout. So we're hopeful that a lot of people will come out and support this event.
And we need to mention it will be October 18th and 19th.
Correct.
You mentioned that this is partly to help celebrate the 100th anniversary of Santa Fe Park. Why do you think it's important that we make note of that milestone anniversary for that park?
Well, you can't take a 100-year anniversary lightly. That's a large milestone, as you mentioned. It's a great park. It's nice that the city has a park so large in the downtown area, and it's a lot of pedestrians utilize that. My personal favorite would probably be the Kids Kingdom portion of it. I like to take my son there. It's his favorite park by far. He particularly enjoys the train that's located there. So it's a beautiful park, and you have to give city leaders credit. They had some foresight to have a park that large and that expansive and nice there downtown. For a city that's only 110 years old, that's pretty large milestone. So we'd like to celebrate that.
I mentioned that you're a native of San Angelo, and do you have fond memories of Santa Fe Park, and what does it sort of mean to you when you look back on it?
I do. It was in high school I ran track, and that was one of my favorite trails to run. It was close to our house, so we would run back and forth and kind of train. And even going to Central High School as a senior, that was part of where we would run on a daily basis. So I love that park.
The other reason that we're celebrating RiverFest is to show off some of the improvements that have been made along the Concho River. What are some of the things that you've seen that have happened there that you think have a little bit of a wow factor to them?
To be honest, me personally, I really like the games court area, or the bosque as it's called. Most people that I've talked to were really impressed by the games court area, the LED lighting, a lot of the trail improvements, as well as the large limestone rocks that they've had to stabilize the bank. So the improvements are impressive by far, and I've received a lot of compliments, and people have said they would never have imagined that San Angelo would have such a nice river area. They're highly impressed by it.
Now, as we have been talking about RiverFest, which again is going to be October 18th and 19th, you came up with the concept of promoting the 3 C's of RiverFest. Explain what that is, and talk about each one of those C's.
Well, the 3 C's stands for Carnival, Concert, and Color Up Run. The Neff's area, as you recall, we used to have an amusement park years and years ago. We have a small carnival. It's the same carnival that came during the Cinco de Mayo festival. We'll be setting up. They've got a lot of different rides. Primarily, I think they're catering to younger children. But so we've got the carnival. We've got 2 concerts. one that is free to the public. We have the Texas Tornadoes that are coming, as well as some local bands, Old Hat Band, as well as the Red Tape. And then Saturday would be our headlining ticketed concert. Casey James, as well as Little Texas, will be playing at that concert.
And you mentioned the Color Up Run.
And the Color Up Run, of course. That is a very, very popular event. As of yesterday, we already had 1,700 people sign up for that run. And it's kind of it's a fun run. There's lots of colors that you get pelted with, and not so much of a competitive run, more for run, walk. It's family friendly. And at the end, there is a color up party, if you will. They have a DJ. People will be splattering color on everybody. So it's a pretty big deal, and they're very popular at the moment, as you know. So
yeah, and as you know, I'm a runner. I have never run in a 5K with 1,700 other people. So why do you think these color runs are such a trendy fad right now?
Perhaps I think people in general would like to run, and if you're not, such as yourself, highly competitive and enter these races where you're going to be timed, I think it's fun for people to. It's another way to get out and enjoy the outdoors. It's kind of fun too that these types of runs, like you said, are popular. They've got zombie runs, mud runs, all these, and they draw. I think it adds a little bit of element of fun to the run, not just making it I don't want to say boring, because I know running isn't boring to you, but it kind of adds another layer of fun to it.
So, and also when we talk about being pelted with colors, it's not paintball. So explain exactly what happens when you get hit by a color.
It's just like cornstarch, different colors of cornstarch, and that it does get launched, but it doesn't hurt. It's not like paintball, like you said, and it can stain your shirt, but it's at the end of the race, you're completely covered in different colors, and it looks neat. If you've never seen it before, it's pretty awesome.
You look like a running rainbow.
You do. A running rainbow would be the perfect way to describe that.
So if people want to register, where can they go to register for the Color Up Run?
They can go to www.coloruprun.com. That is the website, and we can actually register even up to the day of the event. Now that fee will be higher. It will be $55 the day of. If you register before then, it is $50, and that includes your Color Up race T-shirt. You get a Color Up bandana, as well as a tattoo and a bag, a swag bag.
A temporary tattoo.
Temporary tattoo, yes.
Okay. So you talked about your concerts a little bit. On Friday night, October the 18th, you're going to have a free concert. And remind us again who's going to be playing at the River Stage on that free Friday night concert.
We have a local favorite, the Red Tape, the Old Hat Band, and then the Texas Tornadoes will be our headlining band. They were a very, very popular band. A lot of people recognize their songs. Probably the one that's most noticeable is "Hey Baby, ¿Qué pasó?" So they're going to sing that one. But that's the Friday night concert.
And my generation remembers them more for "Is Anybody Going to San Antonio?" which was a popular song back in the 90s. So now you have on Saturday night, October the 19th, you're going to have your ticketed concert. And remind us again who's going to be headlining that concert?
It'll be headlined by Little Texas, and the opening band is Casey James. And it's funny because Casey James, he was a finalist in American Idol not too long ago, a couple years back, and he's got a good like bluesy country kind of sound. And I was actually more excited about him coming to town than I was Little Texas. But more people that I've talked to are really excited about having Little Texas come. They're probably best known for their hit "God Blessed Texas." You hear it everywhere, and it's kind of a country rock band is their genre. So we're excited to have both. Tickets are $21.50 pre-sale, and they'll be higher the day of the event. I'm just not sure what that price is going to be as of yet. And there will be children's tickets. Anyone that's under 2 gets it free, of course, and 2 to 12, they'll pay $11.50.
And that'll be at the River Stage as well. Where can people go to get their advance tickets?
They can purchase them online, www.cosatx.us. There's a link for online services, and it's purchase tickets online. They can also visit the McNeese Convention Center. Our box office is open from 8:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday, or any of our outlets. We have Barbed Wire and Roses in the Sunset Mall, the Goodfellow Air Force Base ticket office on base. We have Blair's Western Wear, of course, and Pinky's on South Bryant.
You also mentioned the carnival at Neff's Park. How excited do you think people are going to be to see a carnival again in that particular location?
I think it'd be very exciting. I think a lot of people that remember Neff's will feel somewhat nostalgic about having another, amusement park there. It would be great to have one there permanently, but for the time being, for this RiverFest, we're excited about having the carnival. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. It draws lots of young people, as you know, so I think it's a great addition to the event.
Now, aside from the 3 C's, there is a multitude of other events that are going to be going on during RiverFest. Touch on some of those.
There are quite a few. And they take place all along the river, and we kind of migrate down towards the river stage as the events kind of dwindle down. We have kids events at actual Kids Kingdom. We'll have a vintage baseball game, paddle boat races, kayak races. We have a boat regatta race where you have to build your own boat and see if you sink or swim.
Out of cardboard.
Out of cardboard. We do have a washer pitching tournament that's going to take place in the games court area. Lots of concessions. We'll have some other attractions throughout the day. A laser light show is in the works, so we're thinking about incorporating that as well.
And you mentioned the washer pitching. There's also going to be an opportunity to play a game that many of us are not familiar with, bocce ball.
Correct. And I'm not actually familiar with it either. I've seen it played, but that in the games court area, the way that it's set up, it lends itself to playing that game as well as washer pits are already installed. So. Now,
is there a cost to attending or participating in a lot of these events at RiverFest?
Aside from the concert, there really is no entry fee. It's for the general public. We want to invite the community out, so we'd like to make it as free and no cost to everybody as we could.
Do you think RiverFest will become an annual event?
Well, when we first started, we didn't have any intention of it becoming an annual event, but it's kind of grown into the possibility exists. If it's as successful as we would like it to be, and we hope for it to be, then there's potential for it to be an annual event.
Now, again, this is going to be October 18th and 19th, all along the river downtown. If people want more information about RiverFest, what's the best way that they can go about getting that?
We do have a sub-page on our website at www.cosatx.us under the Parks and Recreation page.
We've been talking with Angelica Pena. She is our Civic Events Manager. And again, RiverFest will be October 18th and 19th. We hope you'll join us for the next episode of The City.